dealing with that Curry Cup moment, the game was basically... That game was won.
Hey.
No,
yeah, to me.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Whole Life Podcast. We're laughing because something happened just before we pressed record, so don't...
Please.
You saw what happened, not until you could.
Oh, I'm so good, buddy. Yeah. Yet another episode. I'm so happy. We keep doing this.
We keep pushing.
May is for these things.
Yeah.
We push.
Nice long off season, eh?
Freelancers, what in long off season? It becomes a problem.
Yeah, it's a nice off season. It must
but the break has been good though. It's 7 season. It's funny.
Yeah, it's good. Nons, you know, we are all rounders. Yes, we are all rounders. We've had so many people sitting here. We actually haven't had. We had very few active rugby players sit here. We've had Sanela Nomba sit here.
You've actually been doing them live.
Yes. We went to the stadium, the iconic Ellis Park. We sat there. We had nice background views. But today, we've got a powerhouse in the scrums, but also in South African rugby. This man takes names. He registers them on his slate. Sasha Feinberg Ngomazulu said this about him. He said, "It probably the one person that hit me hard, and I felt it. He was out for a couple of weeks. Sasha Feinberg Ngomazulu
the bus was full.
Yeah, because he got hit by Tighthead, the man that hails all the way from the Eastern Cape. I'm not sure if you are born in a place like Jeffreys Bay." Plettenberg Bay. People just go there to surf and then get out. Nobody lives there. But he hails from there. Went to Stithians College. Lions prop forward. Asenathi Ntlabakanye. Tajez, right?
All good. No complaints.
Why do they call you Tajez first?
To be honest, when playing, obviously, closer commentary because I think everyone is starting to enjoy it.
Yes.
You know, and I don't remember which one of you guys named me the Jazz, but it just went. I think it was him. Yeah. So from there on, it just followed. And everywhere I go, you know, it's like the Jazz. You know, I was like, yeah, it's a nice.
Okay.
I'll take it. So yeah, that's where it started. I kind of enjoy the name.
Yeah. Plettenberg Bay. I'm from Grahamstown, and people live in Grahamstown. People don't live in Plettenberg Bay.
Yeah, the thing is, I think about my mom moved to Plett for work.
Yes.
So originally, the salary Plett, obviously, but originally up on Sukakon Ukacha, Willowvale. Yeah. So but we moved. My mom moved to Plett because of work stuff. But like you said, no one lives there.
Yeah,
they all come in June when it's holidays, December. It's all packed. It was actually quite a nice place.
Yes.
It is very full of old people.
Yeah.
As you can see, I think some old people go there to go retire and just enjoy the sea.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a really nice place. I do go there when I do have off time.
Yeah.
And if you have a week off, it's the perfect time to just chuck down and
catch a wave.
Yeah, catch a wave.
Catch a wave.
Not
how they speak it. I'll catch a wave, man.
Yeah, not that I know how to swim, but it's just go enjoy the view. Just to get away from Joburg sometimes can become a lot, so you do need to get out. And then go December, it's strong here, Eastern Cape.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And we are giving you.
Great. I pay in
You just see smoke and you know I'm invited there.
We can plans.
So yeah.
And I'm guessing the move then to Joburg was because of your parents' work and having to move this side, and that's where Stithians came about.
Yeah, to be honest, I think my mom, I have to give her credit. I always say this because for me it was easy to go to Eltonika, which is in George, which is about 2 hours away from home. So I got that opportunity to go there, but my mom declined it. She said, for me to get out of my comfort zone will only do best for me. So, and she forced me out of that. So one coup I know weekends she made a decision for me, and it worked out very nicely. It worked out very nicely also.
Yes, Gitina, and then he turned a cosa nostro si transformer. It's slow. Hey, I'm sure in the Afrikaans somewhere, because you call it the Afrikaans fluent who's a song.
Sweet alone, and I couldn't speak a word of English.
Wow.
Like I could speak obviously a word of English by saying hello, goodbye. It's a basics. But other than that,
and I went like the sentence.
And I went to an English school, a very, very English school in a sense. So, and I was fluent in Afrikaans. In Afrikaans, I'm a Makalat.
Okay.
So, I think that helped me to kind of communicate, because I think that age group, essence was all scholarship kids, but from different places. The guys from Bloom, Grey Bloom, under 13, I came through. Guys from Alberton here that came through. So I had a good group. But some guys could speak Afrikaans, and some could obviously speak both Afrikaans and English. That's how I got to communicate through La Majita, because I could only speak Afrikaans.
Just on that topic, Essence, Essence is, Okwena, Okechi, it's Ryan Ricketts, but I'm going to focus more, maybe on the bursary scholarship side. Is very good at recruiting and bringing all these type of from across the country. Okula, knowing that you're a bursary boy in an affluent space like that experience, because I don't want to speak about my journey, because I know that you know.
He went to Bishop. He went to Bishop. He went to Bishop.
Bishop.
Nah, I must say in the beginning, but for me, that was probably the most eye-opening thing I've ever experienced in my life. Coming from a school where everyone is seeing each other the same. To now being in grade 8 with kids. Normally lunchbox, nigga 20 bucks, 15 rand. I love 15 rand, it needs grades. Now you get here, kids have cards in grade 8, you get attached on the tick. only. So that was eye-opening for me, I think. But then I got used to how they live and how they do things. And then I that also to be. Also at the beginning I wanted to isolate myself. But then I said it's not going to help me, because I'm not going anywhere. I've made it clear. Well, let me try to get close to them. There was one mate of mine called Nicholas Promokom. He used to take me to his house on weekends. Lunch, organize a lunch and a family friends. So you kind of forced to speak. Bonus in the tick and this value most of the time then it's ever right, but they forced me to pull my glass shelf. That's how I got to.
I know because it's from Ekasi, from a smaller town to now Joburg, rich guys. Adaptation for Wena, is it like you're saying? Is obviously it helps that you've got friends that are inviting. Then what is sport doing in that meantime for you? Are you still like already there in terms of at least making you acceptable in terms of at least I know I belong at Berlin, but in terms of off the field I'll manage myself.
I think at Berlin I made it clear when I got there, and I was one guy. Then the show, because I arrived as an 8-man. And the flank. I could cover 8-man, flank and lock in grade 8. But then we had a trial game, and I said to the coach, I'm not going to play a trial game. And that coach was Afrikaans. And he said to me, show me why you're not supposed to play. Like, okay. And then I played against, I think, St. David's or something in grade 8. And then after that game, I think guys realized, what type of players we have.
It means business.
So after that, it was kind of easy for them to communicate with me in a field where I knew I was safe and not in that area. Where off the field, I still needed to get a few adjustments, but they knew what my strong points are. You know, I just needed to adjust to their living because it's two different,
it's very different
two
worlds.
different worlds, matter of fact. So,
coming from Plettenberg, was it a scholarship based on your ability as a rugby player, or was it something that you obviously came as a bursary student? Had they seen you play rugby before?
Yes, like Craven Week in Bloom under 13, and I think there's a guy called Frede Globla was doing the scouting for Saints. He then gave me an envelope and it's some extra command. So he gave me a massive envelope and a book. So a Saints book. So give us to your mother.
Yes.
Okay, the book I'll give to my mother, but I'm So I took that back home. I think we approached me on the last day. Approached me on the last day. He gave me the stuff and said, "Here's my number. Here's a book. Let your mother call me, or whoever is your guardian." And a full envelope, obviously.
What's in the envelope?
No, it was story about Saints. It's like
prospectus.
Basically. So I also give you the book to show you the history of Saints. So when I got home, I was disappointed, obviously. When I knew
I can't talk.
So I knew or my mother read through it. I went to go play with my friends, and later that day she calls me in. She already spoke to Freddie on the phone. She says, "I've made a decision. You're going to Joburg." At that time for me, I was like, I'm not so sure. Joburg is too far. You know, home is where it is. I can go to George 2 hours. I can come home now and then. She was like, "No, you're going to Joburg." And they flew us both to come check the school out. And then her mind was never changed from there.
La campus. It's massive.
When I get into the gate, you're signed. You've always spoken about how much of a culture shock it was for you coming from a completely different world and coming into an environment where you weren't particularly sure about. That growth as Asenathi Ntlabakanye, was it something good for you, positive, as to define who you were at that time and ultimately the kind of player that you became?
I think it did me good, but I won't lie to you. I think if I'd stayed at home, I don't think I would have been the same. And I would have been in that show where instead of learning different languages and different cultures, because back at home it's easy, it's either it's black and white. There's no in between. So me coming to Joburg, it was, I think for me it was probably the best move my mom has made for me in my career, and it has worked out and has defined the person I am today, the character that I am. I wouldn't have never been this person if I stayed in Anduzan Eplet.
I'm trying to think. I mean, we've rattled off so many cricket players that come from Stithians. We've hardly ever said anything about rugby players that come from Stithians. What was it about Stithians that makes it a cricket school before a rugby school, and how much had you had to fight in terms of getting some sort of recognition within the school as a rugby player?
I think obviously Saints is known for for cricket. There's a few guys that play here at the Lions, Lions cricket team. But coming in obviously to compete with cricket at Saints is almost impossible. You kind of, because we hadn't had, when I arrived, I think Ini was the last guy to play Craven Week, and then before him was John Ross. So you can imagine, so there was massive gaps in between. So Ini was in matric when I arrived in Saints in 2012. So he matriculated then. He was the last guy to play matric until I became the next guy to kind of play in 2016 and 2017.
Yeah.
And also never been a Grand Como as well.
Yeah.
So it was a rare thing for Saints to have someone. Also for me, my mom, I asked her, this is probably not the best rugby school you can
Why are you sending me there?
Sending me there.
That's what the Nico like. I guess it made sense.
Yeah. But she was like, no, I'm outside rugby. There's also Lions.
Yeah.
And I think Saints is such a community. I'm still involved.
Yeah.
You know, I go back now and then to
Easter
go
Fest and
Easter
all
Fest
this,
to be involved. It's such a big community as well. That has helped me as well.
Yeah.
So you're saying coming in at grade 8 now? I'm going to say probably not as much pressure, but like now you're saying you're coming in as a rugby player, and you probably have aspirations to grow and become a big rugby player at some point.
Yeah.
But like obviously Aiko. So the early stages, did you feel maybe it brought pressure to yourself because I'm a rugby scholarship guy, or it was just an all-encompassing sports scholarship at the time, it seems?
I think a bit of both, because I think because the group that we came in as, because there was a few guys, to be honest, in grade 8, we were called the millionaire team. The millionaire team, because Saints went to go literally spend from position 1 to...
Oh, wow.
There was probably 14 guys, if I'm not mistaken, all on scholarship. So, but then after under 16, I started to grab the on the road, some went to Alpmakar.
Yeah.
You know, but like you said, I kind of brought that pressure into myself, into I have to perform. You know, I'm here for rugby. You know, Saints saw me as a rugby player, but obviously giving me the opportunity to come, you know, come study
education and all that,
and get some proper education this side as well. So, for me, every time I stepped on that field, I kind of took a responsibility of myself to kind of perform and to show the guys that, hey, listen, he wasn't just handed the scholarship. This guy is worthy of it. So it was kind of, I put that pressure on myself to perform.
Playing Grand Como, and then obviously graduating to Craven Week. 2 years of Craven Week.
Yeah.
Did you believe before you made the Grand Como team that, look, actually I can make something happen of this rugby thing?
I would be lying to you, Nebuda, if I said I did believe that I'll make something out of this rugby. Because at that time, I'm in grade 10. I'm starting to get used to the culture of the school. You know, I'm not doing too bad in my academics. So I'm thinking, actually my mom's decision wasn't bad after all. Because I'm starting to learn new things, starting to do things I would have never thought of doing. So I'll say I wouldn't. It was always in the back of my mind that I want to become a professional rugby. You know, but then when I made the under 16 Grand Como team, and then Lions started to be in contact with myself and with the school as well, and then I started saying, okay, maybe there's something here. But then to say from the get-go, I wanted to. Nah, not really.
Not at all.
I wouldn't say not at all, but it was in the back of my mind. So I came in for rugby. If I can make it professionally, yes. But it is a platform for me that I can start off something.
Going through the ranks then at the Lions, because I mean it's such a competitive union, because it recruits some of the best junior players all over the country to come to the Lions, and it's probably one of the best junior systems because if you look at how yourselves and so many of the other guys have now progressed into the senior ranks, that have played Kyrie Cup, that have played now URC. What was it about the Lions at junior level that made it such a strong environment, and an environment that can harness professionalism from young players like yourself?
I think if you look at the year before I got to the Lions, I think it was 2016. That year was Johnny Lombard, Manny Ross, Kanya, who else was there? There's a big name. So that for me was like, Lions are serious about it. They're getting some good youngsters. You know, we want to compete with. I think Nathan Mabeth was also still there.
Yes, Nathan Mabeth.
He was also a Lions boy from schoolboy rugby as well. So having those guys come in, it kind of gave me the assurance that I'm not going to a bad place. You know, I've been here since under 16. I can grow my rugby here. I can see guys there making Super Rugby debut at that time.
Yeah.
So,
Pathway.
the pathway, I always say now to younger guys that are playing under 21s for us. You look all over the country, your pathway is probably quicker here at the Lions than it will be anywhere else. Nothing to say
Against
about other
the
teams,
others,
because I think if you look at our team now, most of the guys that are playing in our team are guys that have been so-called in the academy or in the system for a long time.
Yeah. You mentioned something earlier just before we move on where you said you were Lucy before and then you
I found the fridge, I say.
I
I found the fridge, I say. I found the fridge, I say.
That's a great reference.
because
You know, in the Eastern Cape, they actually use that phrase a lot. Like, if I go a fridge, it means that you grow. You grow.
I want to say something. Do you know someone who came to the Lions at the time? Was at the Lions cricket now? Who in his uniform? You know the story of the famous 18-year-old, 19-year-old came from school.
Yes.
He used to be big, and now he's a very slim. There's a tuck shop next to the cricket fields that is also not far from the rugby field. I think a lot of players probably spend way too much time next to that tuck shop because it's a nice
Straight from the Bay Top field into the tuck shop.
So those from Mazini there used to
Exactly. I had that in mind, the Tramazini from that tuck shop, because that's what you used to have when you go to Saints. Transforming from your original position to a prop. How does that happen? Who starts that conversation? And how open were you to that conversation?
At the beginning, I didn't want to hear any of it, to be honest.
You're fucking free.
So I didn't want to hear any of it because playing 8-man was so nice. At the time, in grade 8, kumnandi pick up a ball, ubona nje, scrum up when you fly overseas, but then the conversation started approaching grade 9. They're like, hey, listen, nothing against, but I think we can make a proper tighthead out of you. And I was like, it's not happening. But it happened in preseason. The talks started happening in preseason, and then we started. And I was like, okay, let me give it a go. Let me give it a go and just see. I'm actually glad it started then, not later, because later is a bit different. It's easier to always say it's easier to move to loose head once you've started with tight head, not the other way around.
A lot of swingers say this, like it's
Swingers?
A lot of the swingers say this, like it's easier to go from lucid to tighthead than it is from tighthead to lucid. Why?
I think tighthead is a very difficult and technical position. It's like being how can I put it? It's like being I can't explain it. It's like obviously being a fly is easy. But being a good one is a difficult one.
There's a difference between like a Dan Carter and the rest.
So you need to be very technical. You need to know what to do when you're facing different pictures. And I'm still learning. I'm 26, and I think I've played a fair amount of senior rugby. But yet I'm still learning. Every week is different pictures. Guys present you with different pictures. You play against the Bulls, it's a different story. You play against Sharks with Ox, is a different story. You go to Ireland with Porter, is a different story. So you just keep on learning. And I think that's the difficult part, because you're up against basically two guys. You're up against a lucid and a hooker.
Right in
a mix of things. So right in a mix of things. So you have to kind of, it's a position that you keep evolving every time. It's not type of set where lucid, you gotta know if I'm under him, I'm in the business.
He's a rugby novice.
I played back in the day. Opola Lampo, 60 kgs. Can you please explain for someone like me who might not understand the Lucy and tighthead? What I mean, he's obviously mentioned the sternum. Keep hearing. I mean, obviously, Springboks. What's it?
Dan Human.
Yeah, Dan Human. You're getting to understand a little bit of the terminology. What does that? What does that mean for someone like myself who might not fully understand the different types of props?
Basically, a tighthead you're, like Upoda said, you're in the mix of things. Whereby a loose head, so it's called loose.
Oh, okay.
You know, your head isn't really in the.
Oh, so like.
Yeah.
So the channels are like.
Oh, okay.
The tightest channel is in between. Okay. So my head doesn't have any space to maneuver around.
Okay.
Whereby the loose head, his head is almost outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's the difference in the two positions, and you can figure which one is easier. Would you rather have your head in between two people,
or have some movement?
Have some movement. So.
And the prerequisite for those things are strength. What is it?
It requires strength. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with technique.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I think people think the moment you have size,
you're already a good scrummager,
which is not the case.
Yeah.
We've seen guys that get dominated, but they weigh 150 odd something, but then they get dominated by guys that are weighing 116 or 111.
Yeah.
So it's very much technique over everything.
Yeah.
So that's what I've learned.
Yeah.
You know, back when I started playing under 20s, under 90s, I thought, yes, I've got size on this oaks, I can just fly in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, juniors is quite different. You can get away with a lot of things.
Yes.
Whereby in seniors now, it's different. You know, you do one thing wrong, and those guys are able to capitalize.
Yeah.
Starting off in the age groups, and I know some of the coaches there are very good coaches in terms of their rugby knowledge, but also working with junior players. A guy like Mzwake Nkosi is also a very important part of the Lions junior system.
Yeah.
How was it getting to the Lions junior systems and then progressing through it and seeing a clear pathway for you to make it to the seniors? What was it about the coaching at the juniors that made it easier for you to progress?
I think what made it easier for myself, I speak for myself, because I think he coached us in Craven Week.
Yeah.
And I think he coached us in under 16.
Yes.
So having the same face, seeing the same guy, knowing that, okay, we're in this together in a way that he wants to make me better, as a player, and obviously, hopefully, to win things together. So having the same faces for me kind of helped me to improve as a player. You know, knowing that, okay, there's a bigger picture in plan. I want to obviously become a starter for the Lions. I want to become, a regular starter for the Lions. But how do I get there? By having the same faces. Obviously, met Coach Vessels there that's working closely now with Mzwake. Also played a huge factor in my scrummaging abilities and also in my career so far. So I think Mzwake played a massive role because I haven't been with them in under 16. So you get to understand the person, not just the coach.
Yeah.
Same goes to him. He gets to understand me as Asenathi, not as just Asenathi, the rugby player.
Yeah.
So it kind of helped to have that relationship going into the senior year.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about. It's tough being a rugby player. There's so much that you need to do. I mean, we play cricket mostly, predominantly, but it's so different and it's so in its requirements to make it professional.
Yeah.
The amount of gym sessions that you have to put in, the amount of recovery that you have to put in to be able to perform at your peak. How much do you take care of that as Asenathi Ntlabakanye? Because a lot of people always look at size and then they look at you and they look at Frans Malherbe and they say these guys are out of shape, but it's actually not the case.
No, it's completely different.
Yeah.
And one of my mates from back in Plet asked, how do you do it with it? I'm like, okay, come quickly. I flew him to Joburg once for holiday, just to come spend a bit of time here. And then I went through him just how I go about my day. And I think it was in pre-season, so we were in pre-season.
Yes.
So the workload is
intense.
It's intense.
Yeah.
So he came one day to the union, just watched a session. Got in the car. It's like, now I understand. So now I understand. I think me having been obviously through juniors, I didn't really take recovery and taking care of your body and nutrition very seriously. Yeah. But then as I started, I think under 21s, that's when I saw, hey, listen, this is kind of serious now. Your body is basically your work.
Yeah.
It's what you do.
Yeah.
if you don't take care of it, you won't be able to play. You won't be able to be in the field.
Yeah.
And if you're not in the field,
contract.
So I started to really invest in myself.
Yeah.
Having to know and understand my body a lot better, knowing that I'm not gonna be as fast as a Krapi or Edo.
Yes.
But I've got my job.
Yeah.
So do they.
Yeah.
So if I do my job very well,
Yeah.
so the other guys get to shine. Same as they do their job very well, you get to shine as well.
Also on that, I mean, because front rowers are probably the most underrated people, and everybody else gets the plaudits, but not them.
I think this is what I've loved about Chasing the Sun. By the way, it's highlighted
some of
we like the fancy
heroes,
fly half, but like Coach Dan has made it more of a
I think the front rankers, like the unsung heroes. There's a lot that's happening on a rugby field.
Yeah,
but if those guys don't get it right,
everything else falls apart.
Everything else falls apart.
Yeah.
And what's interesting though, because from Chasing the Sun, they said most props in South Africa, which is your background, is that they come from your outer type of areas, lesser areas, right?
I guess this is where Plett comes in. Right?
Yeah, this is why. This is why I was saying he played. And Peter says, Peter Banga they say it's Kulave Tramazi. I want to know in terms of the requirements as well. Cricket is generally everyone is the same. 32K time trial. These are the numbers. Can you help us maybe obviously the requirements of a prop in as much as we are a team, but I'm sure different positions require different.
Yeah, I think these days as a prop you have to be able to link as well. Meaning what I mean by link is you linking with the backs. It's you putting yourself in right positions to be able to tackle people. And not just tackle people but dominate people, And I think as front rankers when a fullback catches a ball at the back, those are the first people you kind of look at. You want to expose. So if you get yourself in good positions, which I think I do most of the times, to get myself in those positions, not to be able to be exposed by the quicker guys. You can imagine a wing that's wearing 85 and that's rapid quick. For example, make an example of Edwell. And if Edwell catches a ball, I need to be awake. I need to be able to cover 5 meters by myself. Which is people think 5 meters is just 5 meters, but it's a lot. So I think what I bring to the game, it's now with the Lions as well. I think being able to get myself in those positions more often is what I bring to the game, and be able to link and able to carry and get off the ground.
That obviously comes from your background as a loose forward, the skill set to be able to link the forwards and the backs. Is that what you've kept from your days as a loose forward?
Yeah, I think I've kept that. I kept that part, not the speed so much. Not the speed so much, but I think I have good hands. I think I back my skill set. And what people don't see a lot, and that it's on me. I think I've got some good feet as well. I've got feet. So I've got feet, but
I've seen a good step. I've seen a good step.
So I think that's something obviously I need to kind of bring it back to my game. But obviously as a prop, your main priority is you need to scrum first. You need to do your basics very well, and all the other stuff is just a skill set.
Scrumming against some of the best props in the country, and that's very difficult. I mean, if you watch Chasing the Sun, they always speak about the technicalities in terms of how Ox does it, and how Vincent does it, and how Bongi and Trevor does it. Who have you found it very difficult in the country to scrum against?
There's two guys I'll mention. First, Ox. Difficult customer. Because it's so short, and it makes it very difficult. And then Gerrit from the Bulls. Gerrit from the Bulls, man. Every time we play those guys, we played them twice this year in Joburg and in Pretoria. Gave me a hard time. I think those two guys in South Africa probably. That's the reason why they're 1 and 2 for South Africa. I think they're very, very difficult to scrum against. And I also say, who else? I think Jan Hendrik For someone that just moved, someone just moved of recent is not bad. I think, like I said, it's competitive.
Yeah.
You know, they get the early for marks of being in the game for a while, and then they just know how to maneuver and what tricks to do.
Yeah.
So it's
Brock Harris.
Brock.
Yeah.
You know, the legendary
Brock is just retired now.
Retired now.
Yeah.
He still gave a few of us a good run. So I think scrumming against any South African pack, you're bound to have a proper test. So
And how do you prepare yourself for that, knowing, especially at times where this guy's got one on me? Like I know already going there. Are you thinking a lot in terms of, let me analyze and find a weakness in a way? Like, what's the thought process of going to a place, first of all, where you know this guy definitely has one on me? And then how do you then approach where, like, obvious?
To be honest, in South Africa, if you're playing the derbies, you know, it's kind of easy to suck yourself up. Because I always say, when the Tuka brothers were here at the Lions, you know, if you don't see derby weeks as, you know, because you're playing guys basically that you want to compete with, guys that you want to compete with high colors. You know, Ox is a Springbok, Gerrit is a Springbok. So if I do well against them, I don't see a reason why I can't do well against someone else that's outside that. So it's kind of, you know, it's to prepare yourself is easy. To get yourself up, you know, obviously knowing that this guy has one over me. Like you said, you get yourself up a lot easier to scrum against those guys. Although they're so good, you know what they're gonna bring. You know, where if you, not disrespect to any pack, you know, if you scrum against European teams, you know, it's more about, you know, what the individuals bring, you know, more than the pack. So I think,
Can I just ask? I mean, we always in rugby, forwards. If the forwards are nowhere, pretty much the game is done. Right. So that's a starting point, and we know rugby is like. Is it more like going to those type of games? Are you pumping yourself up, or can you just calm, technical side? As long as I'm in a good space. Which one comes first?
I think you have to have the balance. I think you have to have the balance. You can't just be calm, and you know, you have to be calm, but also pump yourself up to the point where those two meet each other halfway. But especially against SA derbies, man, it's brutal. It's brutal. If you've watched any of the games, you know, we went down to Durban. I think people thought the Sharks, after we gave them a proper hiding, they thought the Sharks were going to run us off the feet. And it became a nice contest, and you could feel, you know, it's a SA derby. You know, even the Bulls, when we played them at Loftus, you know, they were leading at probably 17 zip after 20 minutes, but then we came back and we made a game out of it. So derbies is a thing of, you know, I know people say it's forwards don't really, you know, if you don't dominate with forwards, you lose the game, but you see it in the back line as well. You know, you see guys like Henko van Wyk, those guys kind of bring the energy. So it's fun, man. It's weeks that I look forward to be honest, if I'm honest with you.
There is a shortage of quality tight heads, and for obvious reasons, because it's such a difficult and technical position. Plenty of loose forwards because you can do it. It's easier to do it, and I think it always obviously goes back to our point about the difference between the two positions. What makes a quality tight head?
I think the guy that's probably leading at the moment is obviously not playing. He hasn't played in a while. I think what France does, I don't think people see the work, the amount of work the guy gets through. You know, like I said, you know, props are always overlooked to see, you know, your fly-offs, your wings that score the try. But the amount of work that guy does in the field is immense, man. Now that's when back in my days, I used to kind of analyze the New Zealand props, how to go about it. And you know, they were nice and flashy, skill set is there.
John Afoa,
you know, those guys where the skill set is there. But then in the recent years, I started really analyzing France, how he goes about his business. You know, you can barely see him on the field, but he's there. his work is very effective.
Yeah.
And when it's come to his primary job, which is scrum, he does it very, very well. I think that makes a good tighthead, being able to move around the park, but when it comes to your
still have enough energy
to able to dominate your position.
I mean, obviously the success has probably highlighted it even more of the Springboks, right? Like scrums are cool, and obviously the importance of the position, and obviously your forwards. There's a lot of conversation. I mean, Kona Lapra Indala, what is it, Australian? What is he? I've forgotten his name. The man where now it seemed like South Africa's strength is becoming a problem, and there's a lot of, but there must be changes in the laws, because now you're one of those people where basically he would love to see
not being effective in the game.
That strength being eliminated, and yet you are making a career out of this thing, but there are people who don't want that strength to be utilized.
7-1 split, 6-2.
To be fair, it's nice to have people speak about scrum so much. In the past where we grew up, they only spoke about line-outs and the importance of line-outs, which is still a crucial part of the game. But to hear people speaking about that and how much the Springboks have an influence over that, it's a nice thing to kind of hear people speaking about it. But to say to take that out of the game is, I think Ox once said in one of his interview, if you don't want to scrum, just go play league rugby. Just go play league rugby. So I think scrum has become such a. I think South Africans are also bought in. Having the type of props we have in South Africa. They started evolving with the scrum and also starting to enjoy it a lot more. You can sense when you can hear the commentators when it's scrum time.
They get excited.
They get excited as well. So, which is something really, really cool to to witness and watch, man.
Yeah, I'm also saying, actually, I'm sure it must have. I mean, it's not a normal place to want to naturally be in.
Imagine myself
trust me,
slamming against another guy that's 130 kgs for 80 minutes.
For 80 minutes straight. It's like I said, they're starting to make it a very cool. Back in the days, I think it used to be the fly-offs. They still are cool. But to see props being recognized, and, then go around Joburg and there's a last prop like that. I got Dakesy, he scrums, I just want to be like him. When you sign kids' autograph after the game, they looks that, it's a nice feeling.
Can I just ask now the other side where, I mean, obviously the recent months, Kitsoff retires, right? And does that also put into mind like how brutal of a space that it is, where we take it for granted, the forces and everything that comes into it, and the importance of looking after yourself and ensuring that, I mean, it, like any career, it's very short. It might be short.
Like I said, like any career, it's very short. I think what happened to kids is it's obviously something very saddening for the props community in general. And I think it's, like I said, looking after yourself is becoming even more important as time goes as well. I think people don't realize the amount of impact. You get guys that weigh 140, 145 clashing at each other. And it's not just clashing, it's literally going at each other for, let's say, that these days starters probably play 60 minutes. And then you get on fresh legs for 20 minutes. Guess what those fresh legs are going to do? They're going to go at each other again. So it's a lot of pressure, that's why, they're the high earners. No, I'm not dead. I'm so that's why the props are probably up there. Because I think it's a very risky position. But one that once you get it right, you can go pretty far.
But I tape now.
He hasn't got qualifier years yet.
Nah, I Jongo Trev, Jongo Ox. Amadoda, I call cauliflower ears.
You don't get that.
I don't do it today. I don't do it today.
You'll see, and he doesn't have any cauliflower.
But he does wear them.
But he doesn't have any cauliflower ears.
For other reasons.
Okay.
Speak about inspirations. who inspired Asenathi Ntlabakanye as a rugby player, not just a front rower, just as a rugby player. I looked up to that guy and I said, one day I can also do what he does.
Like I said, I grew up watching a lot of the New Zealand. I think Charlie Famuina.
Yeah.
Because he had a bit of skill set
in
him. I like, back in the days, I like how they, props can
throw 20-meter passes.
That was for me growing up in the color community. Able to use your feet. So I kind of looked up to him when I grew up. But obviously, starting to watch the Springboks. It was kind of cool to see guys like France, Yanni, that it was at the Lions, obviously came through as well. So it was kind of nice to watch those guys do their thing. Learned a lot from Yanni. Dreyer was here also a Springbok. So having those guys, influence my career was kind of a good thing for me.
The president of South Africa, that is
Honorable Cyril Matamela.
No, not that president.
Oh, which one?
The Springboks.
Okay, all right.
You're part of that environment. Environments are huge in sport, and I think all of us would probably love to spend a day inside a Springboks environment. Talk to us how that feels, being part of that environment, being part of those type of players, if it's the 45 or whatever, and the learnings of just being there, and of course
working with Coach Dan.
Working with all the coaches, and obviously the double back-to-back World Cup winning side.
It was very cool, man. The first time I think it was last year. I made my first appearance at the camp. My eyes went this big, seeing all the superstars in one. Peter Stefulapa. They're all there, So
but now you must act.
I'm not
So I think having been there this year, it is kind of, to see how they do things in that environment, to see how they go about business, what's expected of one to, hopefully wear the jersey. It was very cool. It was a very cool experience for me. One that I put it back on my head like, hey, this is the environment I want to be in. And if I work hard enough and, hopefully I can be able to be there soon.
And there's Tetong alignment camps and all that stuff. As someone who's coming into that alignment camp, obviously it's not necessarily training, but like, what is it that you've been brought in? What is the messaging from the coaching staff to say this is why you're here, and this is what you can take away from this environment?
I think what they kind of bring into the guys and try to say to the guys is, you've been brought here for a reason. Try to take as much information from each coach, as possible. Be a sponge. They say. Learn, hopefully you can take that into your union, apply it, but instill however your union does things, but in that way as well. So I think, for them it was just getting the message across and what it takes to become a Springbok. What am I able to do to become a Springbok? What must I do to become a Springbok? And it was kind of cool, like I said, to walk out of that camp and to say, hey, listen, there's guys that I'm sitting here in the room with. We're competing. It's going to be fun to compete for a jersey.
Do you go back and you say, I feel closer?
To be honest, Buddha, I'll say I feel closer, but it just gave me that switch. That I'll go good.
Okay.
You're not too far. To see the people around. To say, I've been playing good rugby, but I can still be better. I can still be better at that. I can do that better. So I'll go good. So hopefully I can. The last 2 games, we have 2 games now left of the season. Hopefully we can, miracle happen. Things fall in our favor. You never know what could happen.
It's been a tough season. I'll give you now notes. It's been a tough season also for the Lions, and there's so many things. If I look back at some of the points that you dropped in mid-season,
that was
it could have been the difference between now hoping for a miracle to get into the top 8 and a certainty into the top 8 quarterfinals, URC, all of that, and Champions Cup as well. Some of those smaller margins in games that you probably shouldn't have lost, and you lost. How tough of a season has it been?
It's been tough. The way we started like a house on fire. That gave us, because going from the Currie Cup final was a disappointment. Then going straight into the campaign with the URC and getting straight 4 wins in a row, that kind of gave the boost. And then we went on tour, then lost those games. So like I was saying, it's always a thing with us in the middle of the season. That's when you start losing points that we're not really supposed to lose. And then you come back home, and then it's a force. You kind of feel the pressure of wanting to climb in, because we've never played Champions Cup. Before I re-signed my contract, I said to myself, "Flip, I know it'd be nice to play some Champions Cup. To see guys go to Toulon, go to Toulouse, go to Racing, and go to France, and go to Leinster, all those nice. I know we play Leinster,
URC,
but like
it's totally different in the European competition.
So that feeling, but like I said, it's not over. But like I said, it's almost we've kind of lost it in the middle. Now we're hoping and wishing, which was the same scenario we had last year, where we came back from Cape Town, where Ospreys needed to lose to someone. So it's kind of tough. See, as far as the situation,
Bafana calculator back in the day.
Back in the days, so Banban needs to lose to Banban, but not get points. So I think for us, it's reflecting on the season is, if you start that well, you gotta take the momentum with you. And I think in this URC campaign, it's shown. Once you have momentum, once you can get yourself in prime position, you look at prime position as being the Bulls right now. They're in the pound seat for me, if you ask me.
Dealing with that Currie Cup moment, the game was basically... That game was won.
Hey!
No,
to me, we're going on the leg. It was a tough, because I think they gave us a week off before we came back. I think we were playing not the week after. So we were off that week, and then the week after we starting
URC
with Ulster. I think Ulster or Edinburgh was our first game, one of the two. They gave us a week off. Probably one of the toughest weeks. Because we light the TV.
It's Rugby.
It's Rugby. So it was a tough week, man. Having seen the game is over. But that, like I said, that's a beautiful sport. There has to be, and it had to be Jordan as well. That came from
literally like a month ago.
So once I start thinking, almost cabin a show. So it hurt. It took me proper week, to kind of get over it, and it helped that the new campaign was so close as well.
Didn't have to dwell
over it. So it was tough. I think Coach Mzwaka took it very, very hard. So did we as well. Obviously, he didn't have a campaign. I think he had it under 21s as well. And he lost that as well. So you can imagine how he felt. So
he changed room immediately.
Yo. Hey, let me not tell you about it. Yes, it was tense. To put it that way, it was tense. Knowing that we were so close, that we're doing something that hasn't been done in Ellis Park, I think, since 2016. To see the stadium that full. I haven't experienced that since I was still in school watching the Lions.
The glory days.
The glory days of Lions.
Super Rugby times.
That for me was like, we were so close and doing something special. To see the people of Joburg pitching up for the guys when it was most needed. It was kind of, it was a cool moment. But hopefully we can bring back those days. I said, also one of the promises I made, because obviously it's re-signed this year. It would be nice to, when my contract comes to an end, when I've brought something to Joburg. It was nice to see those glory days. people are excited to go to Ellis Park to go watch Oyaku Krill or Yalta Yankees.
Yeah.
So those big names. And those guys didn't become big names.
Yeah.
They worked.
They had to work, yeah.
So that culture is still within us.
Right.
And you can see the group that we have, young guys that are willing to work, but hopefully can come in together very nicely.
Just like in football, because there's so many different tournaments. You can have 4 in a season, and there's a lot of talk about trophies, and winning this trophy and all that stuff. Obviously, rugby has trophies, but how big is it a type of a conversation? Like you're saying, bringing the glory days back to the Lions, bring a trophy to the Lions. Is that a conversation that is always there? Because you don't often hear as much as it's almost like the way it's been driven in soccer and even cricket at domestic level.
I think obviously you don't hear it as much out there, but I think when you're in that environment, you come in first day of pre-season. What do you want to get out of the season? Goals. I don't think any team can tell you our goal is to become top 8. You eventually want to win the thing. But no one wants to say it out loud. We just want to keep it to ourselves. I think that's the difference, like you said, between soccer and rugby.
Why is that though? Like, why is it?
I think it's culture, Buddha. It's culture. I think it's a culture thing. It's you can when the season starts. Sundowns can tell you want to win MTN8, you want to win Nedbank, you want to win the CAF.
If
anything less than that, it becomes a problem.
So I think, like I said, it's culture. Rugby is this environment where it's a very old school culture mindset thing, but it's always been, and I think it'll always be that way.
I think as well, you just see the pride of having Springboks. You maybe almost like it feels like a trophy, like having produced players for the national setup. I don't know. It looks like it means a lot more in the rugby space, but I think it's still.
On that, a lot of people speak of the Sharks as you should be doing that. You should be winning that. You should be.
It's
winning
difficult,
but it's not something that they speak about as much as other people speak.
The outside people speak about. So it's. Like I said, rugby is old school. Old school fans. Like they will speak about it when they're together, when everyone's together. Like when we came in, we spoke about it. But we could never go to the media and say, this season, this is what we want to achieve. This is what we want to achieve. No, that's not how they go about it.
I know. Speaking about that Jazz signing a contract. There was talks about that Jazz going overseas.
Yes, that's correct.
And then what happened?
That's correct. I think difficult decision to make. I think for me, I still have a dream of playing for the Springboks. I still have a dream of representing my country at the World Cup. And for me, I felt having moved, if I move now at 26, it kind of gives the coaches the thing of giving up on the dream. Obviously, moving to France, I would have moved to France, play for a good team. That would have still not
was
the
it,
same.
Bordeaux?
No, it was Toulouse.
Toulouse,
It was Toulouse. So moving there, it was going to be fun, to be honest. It was a tough decision. Financially, it was going to be very nice.
That is. When I saw the rumored contract, I was like, "What are you doing?" He knows. He can tell us. He can tell us.
So I think for me, it was a matter of staying in South Africa for another 2 to 3 years. I think the move will eventually happen by itself. And I think I can stay to fight for my place. And try to compete for the Springbok jersey.
The World Cup is not far, obviously. And you also have guys who've won back-to-back World Cups on the other side of 30. Does that also come into consideration, considering that I'm at 26? These guys
France
are on
34.
the side. Yes, they've won back-to-back, but there's some point where they might need younger players to keep this momentum going.
Yeah, to be fair, I know you said France 34. I think you've witnessed now Brock played until 40.
Yeah.
So it is doable if you manage.
Yeah.
And I think they will manage those guys very well because they know what they got out of it. As for me, it was about I want to put myself in an environment where I can start competing with these guys.
Yeah.
You know, because if I leave, then I'm not being seen. Because top footing is not being shown in South Africa.
No.
Yes, you can be flashy, you can be killing it out there, but no one is seeing it in South Africa. You know, we know as South Africans, you know, we want to. So I've watched Asenathi play.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, because there's a lot of talent in South Africa.
Yeah.
You know, I go, someone else comes in, plugs it in, I said like I was never there. Yeah. So it's for me, it's kind of thing of stay here, stay the course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might take a slap on the wrist with the financial stuff, but it's not that massively.
Yeah.
Because I think we made each other somewhere with the Lions.
Okay.
So it was not too far off, but not to give away anything. But we made each other.
It made sense to stay.
It made sense to stay.
So
also thinking, having that thing of back of my mind that fight. Just keep fighting, keep grinding it out, you know, and you never know what can happen.
I mean, New Zealand made the decision. Anyone that leaves New Zealand can't play for New Zealand. And Coach Rassie, I think, brought that back. And we're seeing South African players now make the move. Maybe for a year or two, you go in and you come back. How important has that been now? I mean, obviously, we keep saying, I mean, sport is not long. Being a prop is a shorter career. Like,
shorter.
How important to still have that flexibility now to make those moves about your career? You know what? After a World Cup year, at least I've got maybe 2 years. Maybe I can maybe just for myself and my career, and then maybe still make the decision to come back and still be within those Springbok setup positions.
I think it's a lot easier once you're in a Springbok environment to make those decisions. I think I wouldn't, as a youngster that wants to become a Springbok, you know, for some guys that move works to go abroad, you know, to go to a different culture, to experience something new. But I just felt in my position, you know, I think it's good for me to stay in the country to kind of compete with the guys, you know, with the likes of Volko, guys that are week in, week out, we're playing against each other. Now, instead of going abroad, he is having the financial benefits, but they're not being seen, like you said. So, as a 26-year-old, I just felt it's not the risk I'm willing to take. You know, like I said, I'll take a slap on the wrist for a bit of financial stuff, but other than that, I feel I can compete, and I can compete very well for that jersey.
You made mention of it, of how difficult the decision was. We live in an environment where it's economically driven. I mean, cricketers also go through the same thing. They'd rather go, okay, I'll forego my national contract because I know I'll be all right if I do all the other freelance leagues out there, you know. How important is that for you to be able to make that decision, given the context of it being an economically driven environment where I could have gone to Toulouse, I would have been happy for the next 10, 15, 20 years of my life, I'm taken care of in terms of finances. I don't have to worry about that. But still, ambition was the one that drove you to say, I want to stay here.
Yeah, and having seen what the Springboks have done to our country in general, and for the past, I think, 8 years, because they won 2 World Cups in a row, seeing the influence that other guys have, you know, it kind of drives us, the younger generation, to kind of, I also want that feeling. You know? I want that feeling for my country, how people are happy when the Springboks are playing. It's a feeling that one can't describe, to be honest. If you have an Ellis Park fixture, you see the game is at 6, people are there at 11 o'clock in the morning. They're crying already. You see how much rugby means to this country. So now, for me, it was a difficult decision, but one that I felt I made a good decision. You know, South Africa is such a rugby, it's a rugby-minded country. You know, rugby. When it comes to rugby, everything is fixed. Our economy is fixed when it comes to rugby.
Public holidays, national
Public
holidays.
Exactly. So
ESCOM doesn't strike.
so if for me, I was asked months back, what's my why? And I said my why is to be able to produce for my family financially, but at the same time, I also got ambitions as a rugby player, as Asenathi. I want to be able to say I've represented my country at the highest level.
We often, I mean, as fans, we look at the pride and joy of rugby, especially like obviously representing the Springboks. What is it about rugby that somehow just, I mean, I know we obviously probably one sport, we've always won World Cups. What is it about rugby that, first of all, brings that pride and also, you know, it seems like all of us, it's green, everyone wears a shirt. Saturday, like you said, from morning all the way until game day.
So those things you just mentioned now, I think we have this thing called Bok Friday. You know, there's green everywhere on a Saturday where the Boks are playing, whether they're in Australia or they're in England.
Pubs are full.
Pubs are full. So that's, you see how much it means to what that means, how much rugby means to South Africans. It's something I can't explain, man. It's you go to Ekasi where you think they don't really give a but it's packed because the Springboks are playing. And they want to see, you know, they have, especially the past 8 years, having seen Usia lifted twice, you know, seeing one of their own as well. So I think it brings South Africa together, you know, whatever's happening on that day, whatever's happening in that month, it just comes down to that day where the Springboks are involved.
And how important is actually, just to the point of representation, because you look at your position, there's representation. We have a captain that represents. We have backlines, or Makazole, Mapimbi, Lukanyos, in almost in any kid who wants to play rugby can see themselves being represented. How important is that to actually see that being there in the Springboks?
I think it's very important. I think kids now from Lukshini, there's Lalini, are starting to see, you know, guys on TV. Often they want to be ox, you know. Solids on scrums have become a thing. You know, you know, they want to become Mampims, they want to become Lucas. So it's a nice thing to kind of see for the guys happening. It's very good to see what they've done, you know, for the country. You know, it's very special. One can't put it into words, to be honest.
Tighthead, we're gonna wrap up very soon. I want to know from you. You've played with some really, really good players at the Lions. If I look back, guys like Hashiva Daimani, you've played with Wandile Similani, you've played with Amani Ras, you've played with
the Chituka
brothers, Emmanuel and Vincent. You've played recently with Sandile Nohamba. You've played with Gianni Lombard. You've played with so many like really, really talented players. You know? Who stands out for you?
You know.
Who's the one Lions player you think, I want to as keeper when we have this guy on the team?
I always say Upai. We called him Nini. Being a mess with being a mess with we truly miss him. You know, the influence the guy had on the team itself. It was like you said, there's been talent all over. Ohachi himself is also up there because he was a different player here at the Lions. And it was the Stormers. So I think Sanele has to be the one player that for me stands out. You know, he's such a gifted individual. You know, it just comes naturally. And Akachimi, has tiny weight. It's like this full, but man has the heart of a lion. You know, a guy that doesn't shy away from anything, and he knows his abilities, and he just keeps on hammering down. So that's one guy I say it's been really, really special for us. You know,
Top 5 players that Asenathi has played with and against. Whether it's props or Okay, firstly, we've asked the scrummaging question, but so top 5 with and against that you've played with.
This guy was difficult.
Okay, Ox.
Number 1, Ox.
Yeah. Difficult, I'll say Gerald as well.
Gerald, stay in the camp.
Yeah. And then I'll give it to Porter.
Hugo Porter.
No, Andrew Porter.
Andrew Porter.
Yeah. A lucid from Leinster.
Yeah.
And then I'll give it to, there's also a difficult customer, Oliver Mark, experience.
Alistair for Mark.
Yes, Oliver Mark, experience guy. And then the last one is one of the Cardiff guys. I can't pronounce his name, just hold on. Because we played against Cardiff now this year in Cardiff. Yeah. So thought we were going to get proper dominance. Yeah. I think he represented Wales of recent. Yeah. I can't remember his name, but I have to. But he is one of the Cardiff lucid props. Yeah. Very difficult customer.
Very difficult customer.
Yeah, because I think he's Georgian or something. Yeah. Has to do something with Georgian. Hence why the scrummaging is good.
No, you wanna fuck you in yama. Fuck you in yama. Steak,
So yeah, those guys are very difficult, man.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's other guys as well that are good scrummagers, but I think those 5 for me stand out.
If you had to build
I like what you're doing.
Asenathi pack of forwards.
8 guys.
8 guys.
I knew you were going there, but
build the perfect 8.
Okay, 1.
Yes.
Standard.
Oxygen.
2, I put Malcolm Marks.
Malcolm, yeah.
Malcolm Marks, and then.
What is it about Malcolm though?
Tell you what, man. Before he left the Lions, obviously came in a few times. Yeah. To do a bit of scrummages with us.
With the juniors?
With the juniors. Obviously, I was starting to go to the seniors, so the live scrums. Yeah. And I once took with him, so he was my hooker. Yeah. And there was 7 of us against 8 against the starting pack of the Lions. I've never in my life felt so comfortable. Never ever. Because he's so broad, man.
Yeah.
He just...
And he's got a big head.
Massive
head.
Massive. So I think him at 2, and then 3 in the corner. About 3, I'll give it to France.
Yeah.
France Malherbe.
France, and then all 4 Stennett.
Yeah, but that's a bit.
Elizabeth.
5?
5, I'll go with RG. RG.
Rudolphus Snyman.
6. The collision, I wasn't sure.
Baninzi kodwa.
Baninzi. And futhi bengadikhetha abemzansi qha. Ndiyathatha la ntwana nguWallace Titi.
Wallace Titi at 6. / Siyakolisi.
Yeah.
Okay.
7.
Aye.
Johnny Lamachoni.
Peter.
Johnny Lamachoni. Universal Soldier. Peter Steph Dutoy.
8 has to be. It's between RD and Lenonias Island, man.
Kalen Doris? Doris or Adisavia?
The pack and now the size. So I'll go with RD.
Adisavia. You don't have a lot of height here, Duchess.
Yeah, but if you got RG, you got Eben, you got Peter, that's those 3 jumping options.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all you need.
You don't need a 4th one, maybe.
It's a grand. Yeah. Front ball, back ball.
Sititi. 6 ball.
6 power M.
Okay.
Yeah.
Complete back.
And then on my edges on the right, Beko Savia ngapha, Sititi ngapha, damage there. Damage there.
Okay. Dots?
No, I'm not. Off field. Trash talker. Best trash talker. Or someone like Akayeki.
Yeah, usanda wahamba ngusane. So when I played against him when he was at the Sharks, man, he used to irritate me.
It just works. Keeps working.
It was worse when it was a 9. I think once he moved to 10.
Quieter.
A bit quieter, but more relaxed.
Yeah.
But it was when it was at 9. I remember we played against when I was at the Sharks, played against them here for Curry Cup. Yeah. Then I got this pass, but he came in hard, but he chopped me.
Yeah.
I didn't see him. Came out of nowhere. Stood up. It's like, yeah, I got you. Bam. For the rest of the game, I couldn't find him. I couldn't find him for the rest of the game. Literally, I was just looking for him. I was like, a clean out or anything, I will be there if you're there.
Nix.
I was on Bahama. So yeah, I think him. I know it's halfbacks, but Jaden Hendrickson. Jaden. It doesn't look like a guy that, but it does.
Is it a Glenwood thing?
I think it's a Glenwood thing. His brother also got a bit of him as well, Jordan. Yeah, Jordan's a trash talk.
Ingati wicket keeper no 9s.
Same
WhatsApp group. Yeah. So funniest teammate, or someone who's change room might be tense, but it just
cracks the joke, lightens the mood.
Yeah, lightens the mood.
Tell you what, it's an odd one. This one, I think Jakob Osagi.
Really?
He's a very strange character. Very, very strange. It's the off.
Yeah.
Say a whole week off. Guys are sending pictures on the beach.
Yeah.
Now doing
what?
It's just an odd character. But I actually enjoy him. He doesn't take life too seriously. He always sees the funny side of things. Yeah. I'll say it has to be him. I've got to understand him as
the
kind of person he is. Because I thought in the beginning, yes, good serious and a bit wrong, but he's a very, very, and also a good leader as well. Good leads in a different way. Like I said, they all said leadership is in all different forms. He's got a style that I like and enjoy quite a bit.
Tighthead, thank you so much for your time. Really, really, really appreciate it. I mean, it's one of the most privileged things that we get to do is have proximity to people like you who are playing the game, understand it, give us a modern day perspective on what it takes to make it to be an elite athlete. And I think it's been special for us to be able to pick your brain. I mean, obviously, just hear your ambitions about where you want to go and what you want to do, not only for the Lions but also for South African rugby. And I think that's very special for us.
Thank you, brother, for having me.
From Plet to the world.
Could
have been two to lose.
I mean, from still good.
Nothing is out of the woods. But like I said, there's a bigger plan, bigger picture.
Thank you very much, Asenathi Ntlabakanye. Please like, subscribe, and of course comment on all of our social media platforms at All Rounders SA on YouTube, at All Rounders SA on X. It's been real. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.